everyone, welcome back to the Team Empire podcast. We're here with your host Shannon, and I have another one of our pros on today. It's the amazing IFBB Figure Pro, Jen Lowrey. Hi Jen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you so much for coming on and spending some bit of time with me this afternoon.
No, thank you for having me. It's super flattering being approached for this. Like, it's not something I would have ever imagined being on somebody's podcast, let alone being a figure pro.
Oh, I know we've got a lot to talk about, don't we? It's been so good to watch you this season. I saw you at South Island Champs. It was so good to make it to that show, and I saw you there, and then you come in at Nationals, and you look even better. And I was like, oh my God. So we're going to talk all about it, Jen. We have to. But you're a pro now. That's like the biggest news. It's been a couple of weeks. So how are you feeling now? Like, is the high gone down a little bit? Are you still excited? Like, what's the feels now?
It doesn't feel real. Like, I never in my life imagined that I would be here. It's been a pretty big journey in terms of getting here. But like my goal for the year was to look like I fit in on stage. That's what I wanted to do. And to make sure that everyone that I came across on the day had a good day as well. Like that was something that I was a really big believer in because everyone's worked so hard to be there and spent so much money that I was going to make sure that everyone had a smile and laughed during the day.
That's nice. And was that the outcome? Was everyone pretty happy from like what
Yeah. I was having like dance parties backstage with like people and the organizers and everything like that. So it was heaps of fun, especially nationals.
Yeah. It was such a big day. Hey, were you there much of the day, or were you just there for the second show? Like, what was your day like on Nationals?
For both Nationals and South Islands, I actually spent the whole day watching the show myself, and then went out back just before I had to hop on, because I really just wanted to see what everyone like looked like and how much they had worked, and especially like all the routines that everyone had done. It's just an amazing day.
Such a long day too, isn't it? But it's exciting. By the end of it, it's just like, whoo, like a bit of adrenaline. Like, still.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about what were you thinking about when they announced you as a winner as the pro? Because that was like there was a battle between I think it was you and Rata. I was trying to remember this morning. It's been weeks now, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it was between you and Rata. But what were you feeling like before they announced it? Were you kind of like maybe I've got this, or were you like, nah, I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it up to leave it up to the hands of the judges?
I feel like it's one of these weird things, and you probably know this as well. When you're on stage, you kind of like black it all out. Like you're just there, you're just kind of being in the moment, and you kind of stare into the lights, so you don't actually see anything. And yeah, but being up there with like Rata is an amazing athlete. Like she has got an amazing condition and physique. So it was like going to be tough going up against her. When they called out my name, I was like, I didn't know whether I was gonna like cry, laugh, or vomit all at the same time. And I think all I did was like puff out my cheeks because I was just like so overwhelmed that I was like actually lost for words that it could even happen. Like I never honestly dreamed that this would be as far as I would get.
But you did it. You did it.
I
You're
did it.
crazy. It's awesome. It's amazing. But were you like, was it a nervous day for you? What were you feeling like on Nationals Day? Were you a bit like, were you more like excited, still dance parties, or were you a bit nervous on that day?
Nationals was a little bit more nervous, only because there had been like a lot of talk in the bodybuilding community. Because like I am very much of a person that kind of like stays in my own lane, just kind of works along, just touches people along the way that I can and helps out, and just kind of sits away and mills in the background. I'm not really that big and well known in this space. And so when I went to South Islands and then people started to know who I was, there was like, a little bit of talk that went on in the bodybuilding community. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, now this is real. Like now I have that like external pressure in terms of what am I going to do? How am I going to perform? So it was a little bit more nervous, but at the same time, I'm a big believer. Like I put in everything that I could have up until that moment, and I committed 100%, 110% to everything. So there was nothing that those feelings on the day were actually going to do to change my outcome. So I may as well just enjoy it. And that was what I tried to do, is enjoy it. Like I definitely had sweaty palms at some point in my, I don't know about your heels, Shannon, but the toes coming out the front, like when your feet, yeah, they were way out the front. And then one of my heel straps broke. And I was just like, oh, well, like the worst case scenario that's going to happen is I'm going to have to go barefoot on stage. So like, well, and we'll just deal with it. Like there's no point stressing it about it at this point.
No, absolutely not. And do you feel like you deal good? Do you feel like you deal okay with the pressure? Like how people were like, oh, no, Jen, like she's looking pretty good. Does that make you feel like, oh, I've got to come in like good, or does it freak you out a little bit?
Generally, it was okay. I think that, to be honest, there was like a couple of comments that I got that weren't very helpful along the way leading into nationals. Like there's some people that probably could have kept their opinions to themselves and aren't as kind, in a really good community. Like I was really surprised by the bodybuilding community around how actually supportive 99% people are. But there was definitely a little bit of hate that I got going into nationals, which was a shame. And I really encourage people to just block those people and don't buy into it, because they're not the type of people that you need in your circle. And so I had some really cool people in my circle that just said, hey, ignore the noise, don't worry about it. Just, you've done all the work, just go for it, just enjoy your day. And once I got past that, those nerves of that pressure, and it was more that, I think, to me, the hate, because it's not who I am in this world, and it's not the energy that I put out in this world. And I'm a big believer in what you put out is what you get back. So I just made a choice to not engage with any of those people moving forward.
It's strengthening you for the pro world.
Absolutely. And like, I mean, it's a competition at the end of the day. It's a sport, right? Like, there's only one winner, and it is really hard. And people have been working at this for years. And I totally understand why somebody might be a little bit annoyed that somebody came out of nowhere, and took out the pro card. But at the same time, like, all the figure girls were awesome. Like everyone was so, and the physique girls as well. Everyone was so kind and caring and supportive and helping each other out backstage as well.
There's always that little 1%, hey, the little
Absolutely.
you gotta get them out of there. Just pay them no mind. Hey, it's one of those things that you don't know how to deal with until it's happened. Hey, and you're like, okay, now why would I care about their opinion? It doesn't mean anything, and they're probably jealous anyway. So
Yeah.
so that's I feel like that's just part of the package, but it's a bit of a shame in New Zealand. We don't like it here because it's such a small place. So keep it nice, guys, because word gets around really fast if you're a hater. So just keep it nice. But it was honestly, Eugene, you've done amazing, and you do have a great little unit and a circle, and everyone loves you. When you come out, it's like we all know Shay, right? Like we can't show. So at least you've got all that love there too, hey.
Absolutely. I think, like, anyone going into the sport, just remember like who you are and how you want to be remembered by. Because there was something that I just kept holding close to my heart the whole time, is that I want to be remembered for the person that made somebody else's day when they were having a terrible day, and somebody that made them smile, not some random that's going to put out other comments about other people's bodies. Like, everyone's worked so hard for so long. Like, why would you want to bring people down?
No, it's just not necessary at all. It's just, there's no place for it. We don't need it. It's just not nice. We want to be more about obviously this is what this pod's about, but uplifting everyone, and just you can always think about the person that you want to be, like you said, in terms of responding to these things, like how you can always control that. You can't control what happens from anyone else, but you're doing great, babe. I want to know what you eat. What did you eat after? I want to know what you did. I don't know. There was nothing open. I've asked all the pros, and they were like, we tried to find something, but did you find some food? Did you have cookies on hand? Like, what did you eat?
So I am a big lover of fruit toast and banana on toast. So I smashed back probably a loaf of bread, like, when I got back to the hotel. It was epic. I enjoyed every moment of it, and I have no regrets at all, and would do it all over again. I think there's something about like having bread after like post show that is just so, like, fills your soul with so much joy and happiness.
Yeah, I think that's why everyone goes for the burgers. Hey, they just want a bit of carbs, but like different carbs.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it was, we didn't get home probably because it was out in Albany, which is quite a wee drive away. And by the time we got an Uber back to town, I think we probably got home about 10. So it was like quite late. Yeah. So there was nothing open, which is absolutely fine, because I think having the floor open to like hundreds of shops is kind of a setup to fail after a competition.
Yeah, especially in Auckland with a smorgasbord of anything you like, that's a bit dangerous. But are you a sweets or a savoury person? Obviously a bit of a sweet person if you like the fruit toast, banana.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I think it's bodybuilding done it to me, to be honest. Like, I used to be a savory person, like die-hard cheese lover. But over the years, like, it's definitely turned into a sweet thing. And oddly, every time I like go through a cut, I'm like, oh yeah, I really miss bananas. Like, I don't know why. But it's just one of those things.
And they taste so good when you're on prep too. You eat a banana, you're like, oh my God, this is like crap. What the hell? It's just like we're too spoiled in the off season, aren't we? It's crazy. Don't take it for granted, everybody. Gosh. Let's talk about you doing physique and figure. I want to talk about that because you look amazing in both. But talk to like an IG question that was what do you like about physique and what do you like about figure? So maybe let's talk about your pros and cons of both, and maybe why you did both. Like, what was maybe the reason first, and then what do you enjoy about both divisions?
Yeah, it was actually my coach that suggested to me that I do physique. I had never even thought about it, to be honest. Figure's always been my love and what I wanted to achieve. But I was just like, hey, I'm already here. Like, why not? Like, I don't know about anyone else in the sport, but you get to a point and you're like, what's another $100? Like, who cares? Like, it's a drop in the bucket at this point. So I was like, oh, I'm already going. So I may as well, like, more stage time, more experience. And okay, I don't love the routine, like I'll say it, because it's just me on the stage with nobody else, and that's out of my comfort zone a little bit. But I really love the posing of physique. Like I think it showcases the muscles in such an amazing way compared to what figure can do as well. And a lot of the figure girls are actually incredibly muscular, but the poses itself don't actually necessarily show it to its full extent. So it was really cool to play around with it. And you don't have to wear heels. So I was all about giving it a go because I didn't have to walk gracefully.
It's the first thing I think of every time. I'm like, that must be such a nice feeling just to roll out. And you're like, is it a nice feeling? Like, is it cool just to kind of, or does it feel a bit like caveman-y? Like,
No, it feels so good. Like I was always envious of the men, like not having to wear the heels, like, and they just can strut out. Then, like the bikini girls have like this amazing walk, and then I'm like, my running joke with my posing coach was you have to turn me from a goat into a gazelle because I felt like I was just like a goat on stage, constantly like just stomping around everywhere.
you look good in the heels now, though. You look like is it practice? Do you feel like practice has really helped?
I was practicing 20 minutes to half an hour every day for posing stuff, just like mixing it up between like holding, between walking, between posing and the mandatories, just so you don't get too fatigued on stage. But even then, so like the amount of holding, lack of carbs, lack of sodium in your diet at that point, the cramp that you get. Like I remember my calves and my hamstrings just cramping up entirely, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to walk off stage after this. Yeah, exactly. Just hobble off.
Nobody knows how hard. I always think about that with you figure girls and their physique and just anyone that's just got more and more muscle. It's like this is going to be so much harder. Think about the boys as well. Like, can you imagine? It'd be crazy. But talking about those two divisions, which one do you like? We already probably know, but which one do you love the most, and which one will you pursue?
I definitely figure. Figure always has my heart.
Yeah.
But I do have a whole new appreciation for physique. But the amount of size that I would need to be competitive in physique, like I'd probably need to be like double or triple. Like the mom that won, her like depth and width is huge. Like she made all of us look like tiny little stick insects, and she's beautiful and amazing. But I was just like, that's like a whole nother like 5 years work right there.
It's crazy, isn't it? She's just crazy. What was she like backstage? And her and the physique girls, were they quite cool? She's got so much energy.
She has so much energy. She was so much fun. She was helping me out with the dance parties backstage, and yeah, she was just such a good time. So much good energy.
I love it. Two good pros there, you and Mon.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Love it. So I'm excited to see what she does next. Hopefully she's off doing something. I'm sure she will. She's got too much energy to stay still. So
Yeah, exactly.
going to see what she does. Who is your coach and your posing coach? Are they separate people? Talk to us about them.
Yeah, so I am coached by a guy called Harry Vickers, who is from New Zealand originally but lives in Australia, and some of the people may know him as HBPT on Instagram. And he is epic. We're actually friends, and he is the most humble guy that I've ever met. Like he originally wasn't my coach; he was just one of my friends. And then I talked sort of about my goals and stuff. And one thing to know about Harry is he'll never sell himself to you. Like that's just how humble he is. He always sells someone else before he sells him. But he's a big believer in family, bringing people up in this world, and just being honest. And I really value those three things about him. And so we worked really well together. We tried a lot of different things together. Because I have a lot of GI problems. and have had a huge journey around some coaches giving me food that really didn't work for me and having to navigate that, and ended up taking quite a bit of time off to try work it out because it got to the point where I couldn't actually do my jeans up anymore. Like that's how bad and bloated I was, and my bowels weren't working. And I know a lot of people experience this in the bodybuilding world but don't talk about it as well. And so when we started working together, he actually let me pick the food that I was going to work for me. And I think one of the biggest challenges in bodybuilding is if it fits your macros, it gets a really bad flack because people use this as an excuse to binge on food that isn't helpful rather than it fueling your body. And so the way we did it was I was still following a really structured meal plan and nutrition plan, but it was more easy digestible foods for what worked with my body instead, which was really helpful. And his like training plans are just so solid, like none of the fluffy Instagram stuff that you see. It's just like really basic, good quality movements and training. So yeah, he's epic, and we're still working together and gonna keep working together. Shout out to Harry if he's watching this, and he will watch this because he does watch your podcasts. And sorry, you're stuck with me. We've already talked about that. You're not getting rid of me anytime soon.
Harry was he on the Jordans podcast when they were doing it? Yeah, I thought I'd seen him before, and I've like started to just have chats with him here and there on Instagram and stuff. But he seems like such a great guy. If anyone's seen those podcasts and they just don't know him, it's a good way to probably get a little bit of him, eh? A little bit of what he's like.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's just so humble and kind and caring and wants to give back, and a big believer in bringing people up. So a lot of our values really resonated together as something which I think is incredibly important as a coach. Like I think people often look at the pictures, right, of the athletes, and like to a degree, yeah, that's correct. Like Harry's done some amazing work and turned many people pro. But what people forget about is actually when you have to connect with a person and talk to them about the hardest moments of your prep and the most intimate things that are going wrong in your life, you actually need somebody that understands you in this world as well. And if you don't connect with a coach, then it isn't going to be as mentally supportive as it could be moving forward.
Yeah, that's such a good point because I feel like a lot of people go for sometimes the status as well, or like just the name of who they are. That can happen so often, and a lot of time people get let down. It's like, damn, it's not really what it's all cracked out to be, is it? So it's about getting that person that works for you personally. Hey, so I feel like what you did was great, working as a friend, communication, and just finding out what people are like. That way, you really know who they are.
Yeah.
What about your posing coach? Who's your posing coach?
Oh, Shay. So Shay is one of my friends now, and she is just an absolute legend. Like she is so kind, and she's so kind, but also so certain in herself and what she wants and what she needs from you as a client, which is really helpful. So her direction was super, super helpful. But yeah, she just gave me so much time and so many good tips, and it was all done over phone because I live in Dunedin and she lives up north. So trying to get posing in Dunedin is like the hardest thing in the world. So you have to do everything on video. And so I was, yeah, really, really happy and impressed her attention to detail that she was able to do over that experience.
And were you happy with your posing in the end? Like when it all come together, were you like, I've kind of got this now?
Yeah, I think like one thing about bodybuilding is you're never happy, right? It's one of those sports where you're like, oh, I could always do more. I could always do more. And I think like there was definitely aspects that I could have done more about. Well, I really like to work on how to like flare out my lats a little bit more and not pull in my scaps and those sorts of things. But it'll just come with time as well. Like I have to remind myself that it was actually my first year competing. And so coming from nothing to pro in that time is huge. So what am I going to achieve in the next year is also going to be huge.
Crazy, isn't that mad? Let's talk about that now, actually, because since you brought it up, I'm like, what about the bodybuilding journey? Because I don't know much about you either, Jen, like I mentioned, but I saw you at South Island and I was like, who is this? Who is this chick? Where has she been? Like, has she competed before? Has she just glowed up? Like, but this was your first season. That's crazy that this was your first season. Have you ever dipped your toe into anything like this before, different federations? Like, when did this start for you? When were you like, oh, I'm going to do some bodybuilding? Like, when did that all begin?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a long, convoluted story. So, in summary, I went through a really messy relationship breakup and I realized that I didn't have anything for myself. And I really had to work quite hard in finding myself. And at the time, I was drinking Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was partying all the time. I was like really unhappy in myself, my body. I weighed 93 kilos. And I started running after a friend suggested it to me. At the time, I couldn't even afford a gym membership because I was paying double rent because my partner and I had separated. And I was on like near minimum wage. So I was like 3/4 of my salary was going on rent. And I started just doing gym trials and kind of started building a little bit of a community. And somebody suggested to me one day, why don't I do bodybuilding? And I was like, why the heck would I want to step on stage half naked for everyone to look at my body and judge me? And I had been doing CrossFit and I really loved it. But then I started getting a lot of injuries and I realized I didn't know how to lift properly. I was just kind of throwing weights around. So I took a step back and I started teaching myself a lot of different movement patterns and trying to build myself up, work on my ability, and had some PT sessions and actually really loved the routine. And so I kind of just started like implementing like little different increments of change along the way, and started them with nutrition and and all of a sudden I'd lost like 30 kilos and it was ridiculous. And so I was like, why didn't I give it a go? And then so in 2019, I think it was, I went to go and compete in NABBA shape. And COVID happened.
Oh.
Love COVID. Looking back, it was the best thing that ever happened. Not being able to go on COVID because like I had huge injury problems. I had no muscle on me. I was like a skinny green bean, stick and set looking thing. And I probably just wasn't in the place that I needed to be as well. Like I think a lot of people enter bodybuilding for very similar reasons that I did. Is it's a good way to be skinny and like to stay lean. And it is not at all like that at all. And so I got really, really lean and they cancelled the show for NABBA. So I decided that I was going to flick over to IFBB and do figure because I was too lean for shape at this point. And then the show kept getting pushed out for 4 weeks. And then it was another 2 weeks. And I was like, at this point, I was feeling like death. And I was like, is it worth it? No. So I just did a photo shoot, hung it up, and I was just like, right, need to go away and work on myself for a wee bit. So I went away and I worked on my GI issues, my injuries. And that probably took 1.5 years to get sorted. Like, it was a huge journey. And to enjoy training again as well, because I think a lot of people get in a place where they just burn themselves out because you're pushing so hard. And so after 1.5 years, I started working again and I was going to go, not this year, but last year to compete. And I was like, actually, I'm just not ready again. Like, I don't know about anyone else, but you get this like dreaded fear of dieting again, like this anxiety almost that you're like, you're not going to be in the best place possible, that you're still feeling hungry and out of control around your food. And so that whole dread was coming in and I was like, actually, I just need some more time. And so I took another year off and then we went for it this year. So before about 5 years ago, I'd never stepped into a gym at all. I don't have a sporting background at all. I've got 2 left feet. I'm very uncoordinated. But what I am good at is I'm really stubborn. So I'm good at committing to things. I'm actually really lazy as well. So if I can find a good structure and routine and it's going to save me time in my day, I'm going to do it as well. But I'm also really passionate. So I was just like, if I'm going to commit to something, I'm going to put 110% of my energy into it because I want to be true to myself at the end of the day.
Yeah. Are you like a winner too? Like I want to come and win, and like are you kind of a bit competitive in that nature as well?
Oh, a little bit competitive. Like my partner would say yes, like when we go to CrossFit together, because I do that in the off season as well. I like to race him, sure. But in the bodybuilding world, like I'm really aware that it's one person that can win this, and all you can do is everything in your power to be that person. There's always going to be somebody that's bigger, better, shinier, musclier, leaner, harder than you are as well. So if you get there, that's incredible. But if not, that's also incredible. Like you're still the top 5% of the world that has committed this dedication, a little bit crazy to get there. But you have succeeded so many other things in your life as well. And that's the mindset that I went in with. It's like, I want to look like, Vitamin C from Olympia, and I would love to look like Meg Sylvester. But the reality of that happening is probably not. But I can aspire to those things and I can put my best self forward to try to achieve some of those things. So that's just what I wanted to do. And I love the challenge that prep and bodybuilding brings. A lot of people ask me why I do it. And one of the reasons, apart from trying to be skinny early on, is when I actually realized I actually like the structure and the routine around it. And I reflected on it and I was like, how many times in your life do you actually get to be this intimate and vulnerable with your own thoughts in the hardest moments? Like, you have to really challenge yourself in terms of how you think and how you view the world when you're in prep, and also structure your days so well so you're still a good person to those around you, because prep's a choice. It doesn't give you permission to be an asshole to people just because you're in prep. Like, every time I go through a diet phase, I learn something new about myself. And I think that's an incredibly privileged position to be a part of, that you get to restrict your food to a point that you are cognitively challenged, and you actually get to be that intimate and reflect on how you interact with the world as well.
That's so true. And it's crazy. It's an actually mad sport that you want to continue putting yourself through punishment, and you keep choosing punishment. And like, the body wants food and you're fighting survival. It's like crazy. But hey, we love it. I don't know why, but we do. Did you get off stage at South Island and you were like, yeah, I like this. Like, this is for me? Or like, did you have that feeling throughout the day, or did it take a couple of days? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, when I got off South Islands, I already messaged Harry and said, like, I don't know what happens at Nationals, but maybe I'm going to do the Mo's Muscle straight after anyway. So I was like, I actually loved being on stage. Like, I didn't think I would, because again, it's totally outside my comfort zone. Like, I'm a bit of a bogan. Like, I wear docs on the weekend. I've got like baggy ass t-shirt on at the moment, and so I didn't think like getting pretty glammed up like that would really be my thing. But I think at the end of the day, like, you have worked so hard to be there that it's so exciting being on stage. And like, that moment is actually all about you as well, like, and showcasing exactly how much energy and effort you've put into something in your life.
It's cool. Hey, it's really cool. And would you like give that as sort of maybe advice? There is a question about this and below, so maybe we'll touch on this now too. But would you give that advice for someone maybe starting off to wait, like get that health in check, and like maybe if you have gone through a breakup, don't be like, I'm just going to chuck it into a prep. A lot of people do that kind of thing, and mental health might not be great. Do you think that's probably a good thing to wait? Like, people just rush sometimes, don't they, into their first season?
Yeah, the stage is always going to be there. And that's a big thing that I believe in. Like, it's not going anywhere, but you only get one you. And so, are you in a place where you're really willing to compromise your mental health, your physical health, your friends, your relationships for that one moment in time? Because at the end of the day, like, you're only left with the memories you make in this world. Do you want those memories to be bad? Like, if you get on stage and you've lost everything, is that moment in time, that 30 seconds that you're up there, and I'm not even joking, it's 30 seconds a lot of the time, is it worth losing all of that stuff in your life? There's got to be a balance. I think a lot of people do rush into it. And I think the reason for that is because they feel pressure in their own lives, whatever reason. And a lot of this is about, the label of what an athlete means and what it means to be a bodybuilder, that there's that external pressure of, now you are this, so this is your identity, so therefore you have to. And if you decide to make a change in that, you can be viewed as yourself, or somebody else might see you as a failure in that sense as well. And that's really uncomfortable for humans to experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of about learning to love the process, hey, and not just like, oh, I just want to get on stage. It's like, it's not about that. It's about the off season and the prep, and what is you, now that you've done all the bits, you've done an off season, you've done a prep, you've done the show. Which bit of all of that is like your favorite, or you get the most out of it?
Oh, that's hard because I love it for all different reasons. Like, I love the prep because it's so focused. Like, you know exactly what you have to do every day to tick the boxes to make sure everything's progressing well. But at the other side, I like, as much as people say they don't like off season, I love off season as well. Like, it is hard mentally because your body changes a lot, but it's where you get the gains. Like, I was thinking the other day in the gym, like, if I hadn't pushed my limits in terms of the weight that I was on and pushed my strength, I wouldn't be where I am muscular wise now. Like, I could have chosen to stay leaner, and I could have chosen to not eat out or have those times. But would I be in the position that I am now because of that? I probably wouldn't be physically stronger. I wouldn't have as much muscular density. And I definitely wouldn't be in a happy place with my relationships if I'd let some of those things suffer as well.
It all adds up. It all comes together, doesn't it? It's all for a reason. And touching on that, what that IG question was, tips for those wanting to build into figure. So I'm guessing this is for first timers, mental, physical, anything like that. Is there anything else that you'd give for someone to, like, because it was your first year, any other advice you'd give to that person?
Yeah, I think like one of the biggest things is a prep just doesn't happen. Like you have to be consistently living the lifestyle for a long time to be okay with it. So like even though like I wasn't competing like in those years off, I still followed meal plans all the time. And I didn't eat out all the time. I wasn't partying, I still had my moments, of course, and spent time with friends and families because it's about balance. But at the end of the day, if you can't follow that structure, you can't turn up every day, you can't do the weighing of your food, you can't eat, your rice, your chicken, your green beans, like, and be quite happy with that, then you're not setting yourself well up for prep because it's that big change. It's when people go from having a really messy diet that's quite chaotic in terms of no structure, no routine, not getting enough protein. And then all of a sudden they flick into a 12-week prep and all of a sudden they're on 80 grams of rice and 80 grams of, chicken, and they're trying to starve themselves. And it's really mentally hard. And then people fall over and they get into that binge cycle as well.
Yeah.
So time, give yourself permission that time's okay. I think another thing with figure is people don't realize how lean you have to get. Like you have to get lean, like there, and I think that's for all divisions, to be honest. Like you have to be lean. Like it's fine if you don't want to, but if you want to be competitive, you have to get really lean. And the more muscle, the better with figure. Like obviously you've got physique as well, which you can level up into if you want to, but the reality is that it's big shoulders and big backs and big quads and hamstrings. And if you don't want to put on weight as well in the off season and push your calories, then you're not going to be able to grow into the areas that you need to be able to.
Yeah, so get comfortable being uncomfortable, number one. Get your ducks in a row, number two. Get your things ready so that dieting isn't just like a big shock to the system, right? And that you'll set yourself up for like a good prep. Is that what
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, like build yourself a good community, like around you. Like I always use the saying to people I work with, like, who are you inviting into your garden that's going to help water you to grow? Because if those people aren't watering you to grow, why are you inviting them into your safe space? Because if they're not going to help you grow, they're going to derail your journey. And if this is something you really want, then you need to be surrounding yourselves with people that really care about that goal for you as well. I know when I went through, I lost a whole heap of friends. And I didn't know if I was going to have anyone around me anymore because I made different choices in my life, because I wasn't that fun partying person anymore that people, thought I was a good laugh on the weekend because I'd drink a lot. And so when I flipped my life around, people didn't know how to be with me anymore. And that's not anything against them. It's actually, just we're not probably the right type for each other in terms of our friendship. So I had to go through a whole journey of that as well. And I think if you set yourself up in terms of who are these people? Why are they supporting me? What do they want in my life for me as well? And ask yourself some of those harder questions. You're going to set yourself up to do really well.
Yeah, and you'll end up with a whole new friend group anyway, won't you? A whole new life.
Absolutely.
And allow that to happen. And that's something people don't talk about as well, is that people do resist your new lifestyle, or why aren't you drinking, or why you can have a cookie, or like, that does happen a lot with just the everyday people because they don't understand bodybuilding, which is fair. So I think that's a really good thing just to touch on for the newbies. Like you might lose a couple of friends along the way, but if you're committed to the sport and you love it, you'll make a whole bunch of new ones. So it's all good.
Yeah. And I'm a big believer as well. Like if those people leave your life because you change a little bit of yourself in terms of what your hopes and dreams are, they're probably not the right people for you. Like you either hop on the bus with me or you hop off. Like goodbye. Like it does. Like if somebody can't support you, then why are they in their life? Like it's probably an ulterior motive. And a lot of the time, especially in bodybuilding, around like, your body changes, you go through these lean phases, these not so lean phases, and people they feel like they can comment on that as well. True friends don't. They just say, cool, that's awesome. Like, what do you need me to do to help you along the way?
Yeah, because bodybuilding is not a bad thing. It's not a reason to defriend someone or whatever. So it's like a filtering system. It'll filter the crap out, and you'll be left with all the good people that really care about you at the end of it. Hopefully. Yeah. Let's talk about training a little bit. I want to talk about that. So what does your training look like? Do you have like a split? Do you do push pull legs? What do you do with your training? What does Harry make you do?
So I run 5 days. So I train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Tuesdays always back, bicep, legs are on. I've moved legs to Tuesday because legs are not my favorite. I really don't like legs. And I only really train them once a week. So I try to get them out of the way early in the week when I have motivation and energy still. So it's a Tuesday problem. Wednesday is back day and biceps. And then I do shoulders, chest, triceps on a Thursday, rest day Friday. I do hammies and glutes and back on a Saturday. It's like a little bit of an extra session. It's posterior. And then Sunday is largely just shoulders as well.
Nice. And what's your favorite day?
Back, shoulders, kind of it fluctuates between two. Back's a vibe. Like I can't get away from back. It's always so good.
It's a kind of weird if you don't say back as a figure chick too. It's
Yeah.
like it's up there anyway, isn't it?
Absolutely. I aspire to be a Dorito. That's like my ultimate life goal.
Yes, I love that. I absolutely think that's awesome. I feel like there's so many people in New Zealand that are suited for figure too that don't pursue figure. I feel like they're in the different divisions. There's a few bikini girls. I'm like, girl, if you freaking went hard, you just. So I love that. The upside down Dorito, girl, that sounds dumb. What are you working on with your physique, or what were you kind of working on this year? Were you and Harry like, okay, we need bigger delts or lats, or like, what was there something in specific you're working on, or what was kind of the plan?
So for me, like I always have a thing that I try to pick on for the like 3 months sort of cycles. I had a really bad shoulder injury in COVID lockdown, and one of my rear delts had wasted away pretty much entirely. And it was just from a really poor desk setup and overarching where my like chest started to contract and my subscap wasted a wee bit. And so I worked really hard building that back up and trying to get full movement again in it. And I did, which was awesome. They looked sick on stage. And my quads, because my legs and my glutes, they've always been such a struggle for me to connect with and grow. So when I saw my stage photos, I was like, holy, whose legs are these? Because I don't think they're mine.
They were yours, girl, and they were good.
Like splits in them. I was like, I didn't know this was possible. Like, who are you?
Absolutely. Like you turned to the back at Nationals and I was like, what is that Jen? Like she's done in 5 weeks too, because crazy. Can you talk about that? Because South Island champs to Nationals, there was a good few weeks. It was like 5 weeks there. So there's a bit of time for you to work with. What did you do between those shows? Was there feedback or from the judges, or were you and Harry just working together? But what was the little plan for that 5 weeks?
So the feedback I got from the judges was that I need bigger delts, which wasn't going to happen in 4 weeks because that's the reality of figure. And I think every figure girl gets that comment because it's about big back, big shoulders, right? You can always be bigger in those areas. And to be leaner in my glute hamstring tie. And so the order was more cardio, less food. I think it's as simple as that. But it's like that balance, right? Of like not taking out too much food that you start losing muscle, and not doing too much cardio so you start. But Harry's magic, like he's literally a wizard. And we just kept pushing. We kept doing the same thing. My cardio pretty much stayed the same the whole time. I only had a little bit of a drop in food. And we just kept pushing because it's just time. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people make a mistake with is they rush a prep. Like I started at 24 weeks out because I'd rather do a really long, slow one and come in early than be like running for time and then be stuck at the end. Because if you've got 4 weeks to spare, you can always bump up your food a little bit or pull back a little bit on the cardio, but you can't ever push that extra bit that you need to get that lean.
Absolutely. And there was a bit of change there for you between those two shows. Did you put photos side by side? Did you see it? Was there a weight change for show day? Like how was the changes between those shows?
It's actually really interesting. One thing that this prep taught me about was that weight's totally irrelevant. Like I only lost 9 kilos in total, which is not a lot of weight at all. And my scale weight didn't change really at all between South Islands and Nationals, but my like whole composition did. And I think that's a really important message for everyone to take away, like that the scales are just data at the end of the day. They're one key piece of the puzzle in terms of telling a story about your body and what's going on. If you're not controlling the other variables and putting in the work, then the change isn't going to happen, regardless of what the scales say.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's good that you had those changes physically, though. That's what we need. Obviously, you're getting judged on that. Were you proud of those changes? Were you pretty happy? What was the biggest change for you between those shows that you're like, oh, did you get that glute ham tie and you're like, fuck yeah, we got it?
Yeah, I was just like, I didn't know I had a booty. Like, what the hell's that? Like, that was a flex for me because, like, I come from, bless my mum and dad, poor genetics, around this sort of stuff. Like, my family are not sporting background at all either. And so the fact that I had achieved any of that, I was like, who are you? Like, girl, that's awesome. Yeah. So no, it was epic. I was really happy with everything that, I mean, I could only be happy with what I put into it as well. And so I just held that to my own standard, as I knew that I had done literally everything possible. Like every day I had ticked everything off. There wasn't one day that I'd miss anything leading into those competitions.
What it takes to become a pro. It's proof in the pudding right here, she's telling us. So make sure you tick those boxes, guys. If you want to go pro, can't get there by cheating. But that's huge, because I think Rata's like such a favorite, and she's been doing this for so long, and you're such a newbie that it was like, I think people just thought Rata had it, I don't know, whatever. But then you come out and like everyone else, it was just like doing the comparisons of quarter turns, and it was just like, wait a minute, wait a minute. And I was sitting next to Frank, and everyone was like, I think Jen might have this. Like, it was looking really strong on your way. So it was really cool. And was it kind of nice to, like, did you feel a bit accomplished to be able to take on someone who's a bit seasoned in that? Like, I mean, it's a little bit competitive, but were you feeling like, I did it, I took out Rata. Rata's like she's been doing this for so long, she'll be a pro within the next, however long. But was it kind of nice to do that? Like, it's a bit of a feat.
It was really overwhelming, to be honest. Like, and like the Jen part in me is like, I didn't want to take that away from anyone either, because I know how hard she's worked. And I know how hard everyone wants this as well. So it's like not within my nature to be like, actually, I want this so bad. Like, I'm just there. I'm just enjoying myself, just being who I am. And Rata looked incredible. Like, when I look at our stage photos next to each other, I'm like, it was close. It was so, so close. And she is an incredibly competitive athlete and a great human as well. So I really hope that she does go again, and does get her pro card as well, because she has put in the mahi to get there, man. She has put in some effort.
And she's right there. She'll come back. She's like a stubborn as well, right? She's like, I'm coming in hot, and we know she'll be back. She'll be a pro before we know it, I'm sure of it. What's your cardio been like, doing up training and all of that? What was your cardio like during prep? Did it ramp up quite a bit? How long were you doing? Were you doing the Stairmaster like us bikini girls? What were you doing?
I chose to do the spin cycle.
Nice, yeah.
Because it's really good for my knees, because I have shoddy knees. So building up strength. And then I was doing an hour cycling,
Yeah.
And 18,000 steps a day. So yeah. So I work an office job as well, largely. So you have to be really structured. So I still at the moment split my cardio up as well. I enjoy the routine of it. So I always do cardio in the morning, because my soul cannot take doing cardio when it's hot at 5 p.m. at night after work. Like, take my hat off to anyone that does that, but I can't do that. So I still go to the gym twice a day anyway, and just get it done. I don't know, there's something about ticking some boxes in the morning before everyone's got up that gives you a great sense of achievement.
Feels good. Feels really good to be like, I'm already on top of everyone. Everyone's just getting out of bed. It's like, I've already ticked the boxes. Do you have like a treadmill at home? How do you get your cardio in the morning, or do you go to the gym to do it first?
I go to the gym. Yeah, I like the change of scenery. Like, I'm a big believer as well in, if you want to achieve something, 50% is turning up. So you have to leave the house to turn up, right? Because most people, if they say, oh, I'll do that later, they don't do it, because they don't leave, they don't change their environment. So for me, it was really important to actually just leave and get out of the house to do it. Whether that was walking, like, I mean, I walked hours on that bloody treadmill, and it did my head in some days, but it's all for a greater good and your why, essentially. But yeah, it was fine. Like, it got done, I knew it'd get done. It's just ticking the boxes, and it's what you have to do. The hardest bit is those spin cycle seats are so uncomfortable. Like, I had bruises up my leg by the end of prep because of it.
Things we do, and you're like, got to get in a suit, in a figure suit shortly.
Exactly.
Gosh, it's a brutal sport, isn't it? It leaves you bruised and bad. We had an Instagram question about what's your least favorite exercise.
Bulgarian split squats, hate them. Absolutely hate them. I don't know why, but I've always really struggled to connect my glutes. And I just don't feel them. They're just like not of a lot of value. Somebody told me if I don't like them, I should do them more. And I've really tried to persist with them, and tried different setups and stuff, but it just doesn't work. Partially probably because I've had such poor mobility. Like, anyone that's listening who says that you don't need to do mobility work and stretching, wait till you hit your 30s. You do. Like, it's coming for you. I got away with it for many years, and then all of a sudden all these injuries started happening, and my mobility and my ankles started locking up and all these things. And so you have to really work at it if you want to do it. And so maybe I need to give them a go again, but at the moment they're definitely not on my plan.
God, yeah. Does Harry not put them in because you don't like them and you don't? Yeah, no. What other, do you do any other single leg stuff like isolation to kind of combat that? What do you do instead?
Yeah, so I it depends really like what sort of cycle I'm in, but like it will be either single leg press, or I do reverse lunges at the moment with a Smith machine because I find them really good. So it's just sort of like, I think one of the things that people get stuck in is that there has to be a gold standard of an exercise. And I think honestly, the more basic the exercise, the better. Like, you don't see Arnold doing like curtsy lunges, or cable kickbacks and all that sort of stuff, but he had the most amazing glutes ever. So there is a lot to talk to in terms of actually some of the basics actually just work. But also a lot of people take out things like barbell work these days, but that provides a huge lot of stability for your body and works other like adjunctive sort of muscles and I can't remember what the word is, but like the small little ones and next to it, to help build up the stronger ones. And without that, then you really compromise your joints and your mobility. I remember somebody telling me once to put plates under my feet when I was squatting to help with my ankle mobility. Sounds good in theory, but actually it's not solving the problem. And then I actually got knee problems from it as well because the plates were kind of like a little bit wobbly and I was kind of wobbling in a little bit of place. So I was like, actually, let's just go back to basics. Like, let's just work out the mobility problem, because why am I trying to compensate for an issue that my body has instead of trying to solve the problem?
True, absolutely. I love that. That's such a good point. I feel like bodybuilding's just, it's quite a boring, bang your head against this wall, like repetitive sport, isn't it? Like the training, like how many times can you do squats and have to, like, you have to enjoy repetition, don't you, to be able to enjoy the sport, because it's a lot about that. And if you don't like it, it's going to be probably not for you. It's really hard. But speaking of, actually, let's talk about your recovery, since you're talking about that before. What do you do for your recovery? Because I've done a lot of podcasts with the pros from this year. Not many of them have said they do much recovery. Again, most of them are in their 20s and whatever. And I had Isaac and not recovery there, and he's 28. So talk to me about what you do and what you would recommend people do maybe while they're starting their journey. And don't overlook it, because it's you have to listen to this. Okay, so tell us about it, Jim. What do you do?
Yeah, that is so important. Like, you only get one body, and if you don't move it right and well and functionally, you're going to lock up as you get older. So oddly, I like doing CrossFit still. Like, it still has a special place in my heart, largely because it's functional movement. Like, it tests your body in different ways and sort of agility. And so it puts different pressure on your joints and your bones that you wouldn't put in a way that you would for bodybuilding. So I do really enjoy that. It also highlights a lot of weaknesses for me in areas that I would need to improve on to improve my strength or my muscularity in those areas to make it more stable as well. And of course, I get to race my partner, which is also a lot of fun for my weekends. But I really think just mobility work and stretching is totally underrated. Like, I don't know why, but there's this huge movement of like, you don't need to. You should be able to, and maybe like, cool, there's 5% of the population that has these amazing joints and things that don't lock up and the muscles don't get tight, but I'm not one of those people. And I've been in places where my hip flexors were so tight I couldn't bend my quads properly backwards, and like, I'm not going to grow if I can't get full range of motion. And it's still a huge journey for me. I'm nowhere at all perfect. And so for me, like, what I do is I do in the morning after cardio, I do my legs and a little bit of upper. And then at the end of the day, I do a lot of chest as well. I work an office job. I type a lot. And what we know is that your shoulders round forward, your chest contracts and everything rolls like that. And then you end up with a whole heap of trap going on. And so if you're not going to look after your body in the right way, then you're not going to be able to move in the right way. And you're going to like overcompensate with other muscles. And so like, if you for example, don't stretch out your chest when you do like a lateral raise. You're just going to use your traps. You're not going to grow your shoulders at all. You're just going to grow your traps. And okay, if that's the look you want, then that's cool. Functionally, it's not great. Also, you're going to probably get a whole heap of migraines. So it's about like lifting for life and lifting for longevity. So what do you need to do to look after your body? Also, I do get regular massages. I'm really lucky. My partner's a massage therapist. Yeah, he's epic. But in particular, I found doing bodybuilding that my lats got really tight in terms of my upper arm mobility, trying to get my arms over my head and things like that. So I've worked really hard at getting that into a better place as well.
It's all about those little, it feels like it's not really 1%ers, but it's about those extras, isn't it, that really do add up. Do you feel like they do? Like all these little things that they make it easier to train and all of that, you know?
And like mobility for posing is so important. Like I don't think people talk about that enough. Like you see a lot of the bikini girls like on the lotus wheels and those sorts of things. But what about everything else? Like what about your thoracic rotation? What about your ability to be able to bend your quads properly and to be able to flare your lats? And even in things like bikini, you still need to be able to pop your muscles. And if you're not mobile, then it ain't going to happen.
Absolutely, yeah. Listen, people, listen up, do it. If you want to go all in, you know, like tick the boxes, and that's one of the boxes that should be in your plan. Your coach should be having you do recovery. It's all part of it, isn't it? What's your speaking of something a little bit different, still on a little bit more of like a health note, but what's your mental health like post show? You've done 2 shows, I guess you've probably got a little bit of a gist of what it's like, but a lot of people take a hit. You might have seen that people take like mental health, like post-show blues and all that, and reverse dieting. What are you like post-show? Are you okay? Are you like struggle straight for a few weeks, or like the diet doesn't go out the window? Like, tell me about your post-show feels.
Yeah, I mean, I think post diet's always hard, right? Because your body goes through a lot of changes. So because as I mentioned before, I did a prep, but I didn't get on stage, and that was really hard. And I learned a lot about what not to do next time. Don't overcompensate by trying to do cardio. It doesn't work. You know, you're just going to burn yourself out. And if you want to eat something, eat it and enjoy it. That's the 2 biggest things. So this time around going into it, I was just like, I actually don't care if I don't have abs anymore. Genetically, I'm not that person. Like that's not my natural resting point. I don't have abs. So why am I trying to persevere with something that makes me feel like terrible all the time? So this time around, I was like, I'm just actually going to try a different approach. I'm going to try enjoy myself through this process and to listen to my body and what it needs. And it's worked a lot better this time around. Like I'll put my hand up. I've had my days. I think everyone has their days. We would not be human if we didn't have these moments in our life where we felt like, you know, I've had a couple of binges since then. Nothing too bad. Like I've been able to pull myself back because I keep coming back to my why and what I wanted to do. And I've talked to Harry a lot around how to structure my days a little bit better to make myself feel better and feel fuller. And it's a complicated, vicious cycle, I think, post show, because everyone glorifies you for being so lean, right? So you get stuck into the cycle of I have to be lean to feel valued in this world. And I have to feel lean, I have to be lean to have the identity of a bodybuilder. And I know for me coming out of show when I had that first binge and I was like, I'm a pro. What am I doing? And I was like, I don't know if I deserve this. I feel like a failure right now. Like I should know better. I do know better than this. And I used to work with people that have eating disorders. I'm a mental health nurse. I know better. I know this stuff. So what am I doing with myself? But it's just that, you know, unsatiable control because your ghrelin levels are so out that you just can't actually help yourself. And you just get into this feeling of guilty and shame around it as well. And so like for me, yeah, I've structured my days so I'm allowed to have some things, and it's giving yourself permission to enjoy it and to enjoy time with your friends. So I put strategies in place for myself as well with my partner around if I want to eat something that's cool, but I have to do it with somebody. It can't be a secret. And I actually have to sit down and enjoy it. It's not allowed to be in front of the TV. It has to be on a plate, or we have to be out doing something together. So small things like that. But one of the things that I've talked to so many people post show like about these things, and it's leading me into what I'm going to do next is actually I'm going to be starting a podcast or a blog. I would like a blog, but the People Say podcast would be more helpful. And so Harry and I are going to do some shows together, and I'm going to bring some other people on about the reverse diet and the post show, because it's not sexy. It's something people don't talk about. People are really shamed about it. And I don't want there to be shame about it, because actually we're just humans, and humans make mistakes. It's actually about being able to make safer choices, and to look after yourself mentally and emotionally post-show, because it's one of the hardest times that you ever go through, not only for yourself, but your relationship with your food, your body, your friends as well. I was like talking to my partner the other day, and he said to me, you prepped me so well for what it was going to be like going into a show, like how hard it was going to be. But nobody talked to me about how hard the post show was going to be, coming out of it. And actually, it is harder, because you have those huge rebounds with the feelings, the thoughts, the foods. You're still not sleeping right. You're still training like a manic person. But now you've got all these hormones running around as well, and your cortisol is still elevated. So it's just such a messy time for everyone. But I think, like, for anyone that's listening, don't be mad at yourself. Today's a new day. Every action you make moving forward, you can make a choice around. And just take a breath before you do anything, because I know it's so easy to get stuck into that cycle of just inhaling food because you're so hungry and you don't feel full, and you're in that starvation mindset again that you're never going to be able to taste this again. But if you structure things and allow yourself to have things and give yourself permission, it will come back with time. So be kind to yourself.
Absolutely. I feel like understanding your body, I've talked about this once or twice before, so sorry if I'm repeating myself to others, but understanding your body is a big thing, because a lot of athletes they're not coaches, they're just everyday people, they've got normal jobs, and they don't quite understand that, I've been dieting for this long, this is happening, and this is why, and my hormones are doing this and that. But understanding that gives yourself that little bit of grace, where you're not so guilty and feeling, I'm such a bad person. It's like, no, this is just fucking science. At the end of the day, this is just how it works. This is how my body works after a diet phase, and I've just almost died. I've been through a massive, I put my body through something huge, and then wanting to eat after is only part of the process, and it's just a bit of a tricky one to get your mind around. So I think it's really cool you and Harry are doing this. I can't wait to hear about it. I'm sure I'm going to be in your DMs like, when is it happening? When's the release? I want to know, because I'm going to pump it up, that. But also the other thing is, I think, is just remembering that bodybuilding isn't, you're going to find your goal physique, right? And then keep that. Like, that's not part of what this is. You have your goal physique for show day, and that is literally all it is. But if you want a goal physique 365, maybe don't do bodybuilding. Maybe just get that physique and keep it, because you can do that as well. It just won't be as lean and conditioned as a bodybuilding physique. There's totally two different things there. But if you love bodybuilding, you'll embrace the discomfort. I love it. I've got boobs again. I'm fucking stoked. So I am so happy. I can shake my booty around, and I know in about 40 weeks I'm going to be lean again. So just enjoying the process and just letting it be what it is. But really excited to hear about what you and Harry talk about. And obviously you've kept Harry on post-show, and like you guys are reversing together. Are you doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think that's another thing that people make a mistake about, is just dropping your coach. And like, I'm not at all saying if your coach is an asshole, not to get rid of them, because like, talking to some people that coming out of their shows and how their coaches were treating and responding to them was not okay at all. Like, you're paying for a service. Their job is to literally make you feel good and to help you. If they're not delivering that, they should have a high standard and high expectations of you. But if you're not doing well, it's their job to support you as well, because you pay like anywhere between $70 to $150 a week for these people. Like, that's a huge investment, and you're trusting them with your mental and emotional well-being. And if they're not supporting you, then they're not the people to have in your corner as well. So you've got to really take a look at what's going on in your life to make you reverse successful as well. And also, if you're struggling, your coach should be able to give you some flexibility. Not to the extent sometimes I think as some coaches do. Like, when I went into my last reverse, I had a coach give me, and this is how he runs, and that's cool for him. It didn't work for me, but he gave me a leadway of so many calories that I could have additional to eat out. But I use it as a justifying sort of factor to sort of hoard my calories for the day, to then make really poor choices at the end of the day. And so I was starving myself all day, becoming quite food obsessive still, not fueling my body in the right way to then be able to eat whatever I want. Rather now it's more, you just eat your plan. This is reverse plan, and I've got one off-plan meal. I don't like calling them cheat meals, because I don't think it's cheating on your diet. I think it's actually just being a normal human, to enjoy myself. with my friends and my family, and to know that I have that time and that allowance to give myself permission that I can actually just enjoy it just slows my whole mind down in terms of that all or nothing approach as well. And so I've got plans coming up and I'm looking forward to it. I'm not looking at the menu in advance. I'm not counting the calories at all. I'm actually just going out with actually, I feel like this, I'm hungry or I'm not hungry and I'm going to eat how I feel.
That's cool, eh? That's so nice. It's so freeing. Hey, it's like, oh, it's not controlling me. I've got control of it. It's all good. And that's what makes a good coach, is someone that finds what works for you. It's not just like, oh, these are my protocols, deal with it. It's coaching. It's supposed to be personal and adjusted to you and how you work and stuff like that. So my question for that was like going to be, do you think you can switch coaches, in your opinion, kind of at any time? Like if your reverse is going shit and your coach is not really responding or giving you poor advice or just not helping you, could you leave a coach then? Do you think you could leave a coach like, and just switch to someone that might be actually more helpful? Do you think there's no rules around that?
I think it's personal. Like, I wouldn't like to give a one piece advice for anyone, but I think the minimum in life you deserve is to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel you're being respected in that relationship and taken seriously and your mental health is suffering, then you need to leave. And I know a lot of people have loyalty, they got me this far and da 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 da. But if you're not doing well and you're paying a coach a service and they're not responding to you or they're not being helpful, like I had one coach tell me once that I was like flogging a dead horse. And that was so damaging for my relationship with food and my body. And I had to take, like, this was before bodybuilding, this was just a nutritionist I had. But for me, that took over a year to work through and to have a good relationship with my body and my food again. Now, if I wasn't a resilient human that was a mental health nurse, I don't know if I would have got out of that hole. And that's what worries me for a lot of people in this space as well, is that they just get treated poorly. It's very much like an abusive relationship, because you get the results a little bit, you feel good because you're lean, and then they treat you like shit. So you kind of want to leave, but you can't because you feel stuck in the relationship. And it's really cyclic. So I think, talk to somebody, talk to the people that are around you, ask them what their opinion of the situation is. And it's actually okay to talk to other coaches as well. Like, if you don't think you're getting the service you deserve, do go out and explore other people and interview people and ask them what their qualifications are and what their experiences with these things are. And if you're struggling with, binging, which a lot of people do post show, and it is starting to take control of your life, get some help. Like, it's okay to get support in this area. Like, you don't have to solve with these problems. And I think, like, no hate at all to coaches, but coaches aren't specialists in eating disorders either. And sometimes it is out of their scope to be able to get you to the point that you need to be. And there's no shame in having a counselor or, somebody else, or a dietitian or a different nutritionist that's qualified in those areas for a period of time to get you back on track. It doesn't make you any less of a person. In my world, it actually makes you more of a person, because you're able to reflect on yourself and what you need to be able to make sure that you can live life longer for stronger.
Yeah, and just be a good all-round person, and a healthy person too at that. You want to make sure you're looking after all areas of that. So that's really good to know. Yeah, just like it's personal opinion and personal situation, but you can leave if you're not respected. And there are so many coaches out there. And like, again, if you just pick the one that's the fanciest coach and the one that's got the most followers, you might not get what you want. So it's all about picking the right one. And they're there to be picked and to be spoken to and to be asked questions and stuff. So do your auditing, do your auditing well.
Exactly. Do your auditing, because I think if somebody isn't able to give you the time of day before you sign up, if you want to have a call with them to talk about who they are, what they believe in, what their values are, how their clients are acting, what's going to work for you. If you've got issues, like I was very open with my GI issues to everyone. And if they don't think that they've got a skill set, that's their time to say as well, because you have to have those honest conversations. Look, they're going to see you half naked half the time. They're going to know your personal intimate details anyway, so you may as well just be honest up front with it and like beat half the process by just talking about it with each other. And if you don't connect, that's cool as well. Like, they're not your person, and that's fine, because there is 100,000 coaches around the world, and you're going to find someone that works for you.
Absolutely. So just a little hunt. Do a little hunt and you'll find what's right for you guys. And yeah, shop around. There's plenty of options. I just want to ask you some little random questions, just about little things about show and stuff. Where's your figure suit from? And did you love it? Were you really stoked with your suit this season?
I absolutely loved it. Like, I loved it more than I could have ever imagined, and it fit perfectly. And I ordered mine online from Muscle Dazzle. and they were epic. Like because I was like, oh, there's something about ordering overseas and trying to do your measurements, and so I paid extra and got the 4 weeks out measurements, and I asked them to do some custom things on it as well. But it was the best thing ever I've bought, and they're great to deal with. And I bought like a little touch up because the things fall off after you wear them all day, and they sent me one for free, and so it was just like they were so lovely to deal with.
Oh, cool. So
Highly
you
recommend.
recommend for others.
Yeah, recommend highly.
Love that. That's so good. And what other color would you like to do? Or like, have you got a range of colors that you want to do? But for the next suit, have you got something in mind?
I had never ever thought about green until this year
Yeah.
because there was so many girls up there with greens and they looked awesome. Like there was some like dark black with greens on the top, and I was like, yeah, that's awesome. I probably could rock that, but it depends on what color my hair is because at the moment it's red. So, I mean, like if I didn't have red hair, I'd probably go red as well because they looked amazing.
The reds and the greens, and there was a few like rainbows and ombres and stuff like that in the suits. It was all cool to see different colors, eh?
I do love the figure suits, how they've got the designs in them though, so I'll probably keep that forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. You guys can go a little bit more crazy than us bikini girls. We don't really get a lot to work with, but it's just so cool how you can flare it up a bit, make it a bit extra. What are you excited about doing? You probably aren't, but we'll see. Are you excited about doing a long routine now that you've got a pro posing routine? Is that kind of like, oh no, now I've got to go be on stage for an extra 25 seconds? Like, is that daunting, or is it kind of like a fun challenge that you're excited about?
I think it'll be fun, like when I get there. Like now I know what it feels like. And I think that's the hardest time as a first time competitor, is that you're just kind of like guessing what it's going to look like and feel like when you get up there and where the markers are going to be and all these like really small details. And the stage isn't actually as big as you think it's going to be. Like that's the first thing. Like I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, it's actually not that bad. Like once I got there, but in my mind I was like, it's going to be this like huge runway that I'm going to have to like walk with these giant heels on everywhere and try to be elegant and not fall over. And by the time I got there, I was like, oh yeah, it's actually not too bad. So I think it'll be fun. And like now that I know the feeling of the nerves, like being on stage trying to pose and trying to smile and trying to keep my eyes open is going to be a challenge because I think every photo I've got is me blinking like uncontrollably, which is maybe why I don't remember half of it. But no, so I think it'll be really good and it'll be a lot of fun. Like I think now that with the biggest challenge with doing two like categories was I have to learn two different routines, two different poses, and then I had to use a physique routine as well. And so now I can just focus on one, which will be a lot of fun. So I can just dedicate all that time rather than 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, trying to split up my week.
A lot easier for you, I think, isn't it? It's going to be a lot more time streamlined. But what was your favorite woman's physique pose? Did you have one that was like, I don't know, back double bicep? Was it abs and quad? Like, what was your favorite one just to hit?
Back double biceps, always. Like I'm allowed to say this. My back's my favorite. Like I'll take it. It looks so good. And I think as well, like as a woman, you don't get to flex your biceps very often. So like I'm gonna take any opportunity I can to flex them.
I love that so much. I love it when they do that. I'm like, this is just so cool. We get to see the girls flexing for a change. Like, you don't get to, well, definitely not a bikini, not a wellness. Like on the way up, you get to start flexing a bit more, but it's just kind of fun, And I think, I think it was Georgia Patching that said the same thing. She was like, I just wanted to hit some of those poses, they just don't get to do, you can't do it in heels as well. So it's like doing this and like, just bare feet on stage is just so badass. So I have to agree. Yeah. It's just really good. Fun to watch too, Can we talk about just a couple of the shows before we wrap it up? And just before because I've kept you for a while, but I just want to talk about a couple of the shows recently. We had Shay on a couple of days ago, 1 to 2 days ago with the time difference. Did you catch any of it? What did you think about Shay? Second place for her at Ben Weider. What do you reckon?
Oh, she is incredible. She's such an inspiration. Not only like her physique, but just her whole mantra in life and what she values and how she presents herself in this world. Like she's always true to herself. So she's somebody that I aspire to be inside and out. Like she's epic. She looked amazing. Her package was amazing. That suit, holy heck, that was epic. It was so beautiful. So I really hope that she does go again. You never know, we might be able to go overseas together. I joked to her 2026 I'm hoping to go and do a pro show, so we'll see.
Gotta ride the wave sometimes, and just play it out. I love that. And what about Jess Chan? Did you see any of her shows? Like a little while ago now? It feels like it was a good few weeks ago, but did you see any of that? And what do you think about Jess?
Jess is beautiful. Honest, I seen her at nationals and met her in person for the first time, and she is just an absolute delight as well. Like, all I think figure is such an underrated category. Like, one of the things I loved about this year was there's so many figure girls on stage. Like, it was so awesome to see. Like, I know bikini is always really popular. Like, who doesn't love a big booty? Like, yeah, totally down for that. But it was just so cool to see girls really pushing themselves past those limits, and putting themselves on. And I think Jess and Shay both do that. Like, Jess's package was amazing, and her posing, she is so elegant and graceful on stage.
Yeah, she's stunning. She's like Lowrey Chapados, but in figure.
Exactly.
Just with the grace and, all of that. And I think we've just got some awesome figure pros that make it cool. They make it fun. They make it like aspiring to be, I want to do figure. I want to look like Jess. I want to look like, and now you're one of them too. So you get to join that club. So excited. So I'll ask you that now. Are you thinking about 2026? Is 2025 just a little too soon for you? Do you feel like you need to grow more? Like what are your plans on, like, sort of not plans, but like what are your thoughts on like your pro debut, and what does Harry think too?
I think we're talking about 2026, but we'll see what happens. I need to put on a lot more size, and I'm very realistic about that, especially like width in my back. And that's fine. Like, that's awesome that I've got a goal to work towards. And if 2026 doesn't happen, then we'll go 2027. Like, we never know. We'll just work towards everything and take a decent year off to grow. So I think one thing that people do is they rush it. And like thinking about like the costs. Like, if anyone wants to know the costs of competing, I probably spent around about 10 grand at least on these two shows. And so going overseas, it's going to be double, triple that. So you really want to be investing in yourself and the decision that you're making around that. And even going overseas, I'm not expecting to place. Like, I just want to go and look like I'd be part of the line, like I fit in. There's always my goal to these things, because if I've done that, I know I've put myself best self forward. I've tried really hard, and you never know who's going to turn up anyway. And if I do better than that, then that's awesome. That's so cool. But it's sort of just like one for the memory bank of life as well. Like, how many people get to say that they do this in the world? Like, it's pretty incredible to be a part of.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's really, really cool. So you're going to continue. It's just a matter of time, and you might share this kind of thing, announce it when it's right, when you're there, when you've like locked it in and this is rejo's being paid for. You might let us know.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm trying to push myself more out of my comfort zone this year. I'm very much like a person that just sort of chips away in the background and does my own thing. So, I was talking to Harry about doing this podcast, and he's like, yeah, we should do it. Like, it would be really good. I think there's a lot to talk about in this space, because it's not sexy, it is hard, but also not sexy and hard is my job. Like, I'm a mental health nurse, and I've done this for years and years and years. And so I was like, it's like, let's just start talking about it, because if you share it with a community, you're really going to destigmatize a lot of what's going on. And one of the biggest things with eating disorders and eating behaviors is the secrecy behind it entrenches those patterns. So if we can start normalizing some of these experiences for people, and give people some strategies that actually might help them get through these really tough times, but also know that there's somebody else down at the end of the line that actually, hey, you're not alone in this, is actually going to really help people move forward. So pushing myself out of my comfort zone in other areas is definitely something that I'm working on as well this year.
Yeah, Jean, you're so good. I love it. I can't wait for this. Do you guys know if you're going to do it on like YouTube or Spotify? Do you have a name for it? Do you know when you might start?
I've just finished designing a logo, which was a challenge in itself. I'm not that creative either, so be graceful and great and kind to me when I release it. But I'm hoping to record maybe my first episode this coming weekend. So I decided that, like, amongst all my chaos of working full time, I travel for work as well. Like, I cover the Lower South Island. I volunteer. I study. I work a second job sometimes. I do prep. My partner and I are looking at buying a house. He just got his permanent residency here. So it's just all like really like full noise as well. So I love being busy. Busy is my life. Also trying to look after myself and my relationships in this, especially leading up to Christmas. I want to make sure that I'm able to have some time with my family. So I'm hoping that it might be like once a fortnight sort of thing that I'm able to release things. They're not going to be big ones. One of the things that I think that I really want to get out of this is something that's short, sharp reminders, so that when people are, in those times of feeling alone, that they can flick it on for 15 minutes to get some escape from their life, to hear something, to connect and to ground themselves and to bring themselves back from those feelings as well.
Love that. That's so cool, Jen. And will you share it on like your Instagram? Is that kind of how you promote it, so everyone can just like come and follow?
Yeah, I think so. And I'll let you know as well when I release it and when we're getting ready to release it. So hopefully I'll do my intro one this weekend and we'll get it started.
It's nice, Jen. I feel like with this kind of stuff, it's just about starting, and then everything else just kind of comes in. You can always change things, level up and all that, but it's just that first get in there, try it. It's terrifying, and I bet you're going to do amazing. I can't wait to hear how you go, and just the way you speak on
inspiration, getting it started.
Oh, really? Oh, it's just so I want more of this. So this is kind of why I started this podcast, was because I was kind of nobody when I started it in the bodybuilding world, and I wanted to challenge people who are already in their space and see if they'll be like, oh, who's this chick? I want to do better than that. And it's just been cool to see other people do stuff. Like Jordan had his podcast. I really hope he brings that back. You're going to have one as well. And it's just been, there's so much more community now. So I'm just here for it. I reckon you're going to be amazing. It's going to be so good, especially with the work you do, putting that into it. So yeah, honestly, thank you for it, because it's like not many people get a lot of help and support from people who know what they're talking about with this stuff. So it's really going to be such a benefit to all of our competitors and athletes, and probably a lot more people as well. They'll probably tune in.
I just want people to talk about it, like just normalize it. Like if that changes one person's life and they're confident in talking and being honest with themselves, because that's what will change the trajectory in terms of your relationship with your body and your food, and having a successful off season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All around the mindset. When the mindset's good, everything else can be okay. I love that. Hey, are you sponsored by anyone? I know you're like, it's been a quick season, you're a pro already, probably no one's even got a chance to get to you yet, but do you have any sponsorships? And if not, who would you like some, would you be like, oh yeah, I'd love supplements, or I'd love activewear, or you're not really fussed?
I'm not sponsored at all. I get free messages from my partner. I guess that counts from his business. I'll take that. I mean, like if the opportunity came up and they were in line with my values and how I view the world and how they view athletes, then I'd be open to it. But I'm not like actively putting myself out there, because I'm not that type of person either. Like I'm just very much like, hey, I train because I love it. I love building community. I want to make strong people in this world, and I'll just keep doing it regardless of who comes at me. So we'll see.
Yeah, that fits into the life. That's what it's supposed to be like. It's a bit more seamless, eh? Because that way it's genuine, and that way you know that you're back in something you love generally anyway. So if anyone's out there listening, hook Jen up. I mean, we've got sponsorships for a couple of people so far, so you never know. But it's just exciting, Jen. It's been so good to chat to you. We haven't actually officially met until obviously this chat, but it's been really good to watch you this season. Like, you've been such an amazing inspiration watching you go from show to show. I love improvements between show to show, and it's like you did the best job ever. It was crazy, you and Harry. Give you both credit as a little team, and Shay, little squad. They're just so cool, babe. Congratulations on becoming a pro. Congratulations on your season. It's been so good to chat. And have I missed anything? Is there anything else you'd like to share or say to anyone before we wrap it up?
My DMs are always open, not in a creepy sort of slide in their way. But it can be hard and it can be lonely, this journey. So don't be afraid to connect and reach out with people. I think I've pestered so many people on the bodybuilding community that I have never met until like nationals and stuff. And I've made some amazing friends from it as well. So like, don't be afraid to put it out there. Don't be afraid to say, yeah, you look jacked. You look awesome. Like, what are you doing? How are you doing? Like, just connect with others. I think that's really what it's all about. And that's what it is about for me as well, is just finding like-minded people that really want to push themselves in this world and to achieve great things.
Because we compete against each other, right? But we're all in the same boat, and there's not many other people like us, so we may as well just get along and just leave it.
Exactly.
I love it. Oh, well, thank you, Jen, and hopefully I'll be able to get you back on the pod, like maybe when you do a pro show, when you're ready for a pro show, maybe when you get back from your pro, like whatever, but would love to get you back on again. Would you be keen?
Absolutely. Always happy to chat.
Nice. I love that. Everyone that is listening, don't forget to like and subscribe for this podcast on YouTube and follow on Spotify. Check in the description below for Jen's Instagram handle, and make sure you go follow her, follow the journey, and check out this podcast when it comes out. I'll share it on the Team Empire Podcast Instagram as well, so that we can promote it, push it out there, and everyone can start listening and figuring out how to figure mental health and all of that. It's all a big jumble for everyone. So I think it's going to be super, super helpful, babe. And thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you all on the next episode. Bye.